Joining me in studio now is David Knight. You're just getting back from Virginia, where you went to cover the story of Bryce Williams, the gunman who shot dead a reporter, her cameraman, as well as injuring another guest there. Now, I know obviously you were going to cover the press conferences and everything else, but what else were you hoping to discover there?
Well, certainly, Leanne, we were hoping there was going to be a press conference. It turns out that they had only had the one official press conference early the day before. So the press conferences that were there, they didn't have any officials that were there. But we wanted to see the media frenzy, see how they were using this, hoping that we could engage with some of the people there with the government, because, of course, they're using this to push gun control. It's an international story. I was really surprised at how much traction and coverage it got internationally. And the lady who is a survivor is absolutely amazed as well. And she was there at the center of it. And of course, there's a lot of people who are very concerned about whether or not this is genuine. And I have to say that as of this point, I don't see anything there that would indicate to me that the shooting itself was a hoax. What is happening now in the aftermath of it is most definitely a hoax, the way they're trying to use this and spin it. But typically what we see in a situation like Sandy Hook, there's no survivors. Everybody is pronounced dead immediately. Well, this one lady survived. She is now out of the hospital. And like a lot of people are saying, they're concerned that they're looking at the footage and they say, well, I don't see her getting hit. I don't think that she'd be able, it just doesn't look real to them. You have to understand that the other lady who survived, she was standing there and he took 2 shots at her point blank and completely missed her.
Right.
And then she got down on the ground in a ball as if that was going to protect her. At that point, he was able to hit her because she wasn't moving. And so she was actually able to walk to the ambulance when the ambulance got there. So we were kept from getting to the crime scene. We'll show you some footage of the crime scene, and Joe Biggs has a report on that. By the time we got there, of course, they had all the journalists blocked off from the crime scene while they were cleaning it up, while they were replacing boards. We were able to then go and look around and see what had been replaced. But of course, we can't see any blood stains at that point because they've got that removed. Nevertheless, we have to understand that people don't immediately die when they're shot. I took a concealed carry course decades ago, and it was taught by a retired Secret Service agent. And what he said at the time was, you have to understand that the people just don't fall down like they do on television.
Right.
He said, you can hit somebody center mass and they won't go down. He gave me an example of a situation where there was 3 or 4, because it's been decades, I can't remember, 3 or 4 FBI agents who were arresting a guy who was a martial arts expert. They shot him multiple times. When he attacked them, he bled out in 40 seconds because they hit a major artery near his heart. But before he bled out, he killed all the agents in the room. And that was the warning that he gave to us, that people are not going to go down necessarily when you shoot them. It depends where you shoot them, how you shoot them. Now, the other thing that we found when we went there, Leanne, was, of course, it's not just the Second Amendment under attack by the governor of Virginia, and Hillary Clinton. He happens to be her former campaign manager. He was assistant campaign manager for Bill Clinton, and he was Hillary Clinton's campaign manager in 2008. And quite frankly, that's the only experience this guy's got, is as a campaign manager. And of course, they're always campaigning. It's always a campaign, and this is a campaign for gun control. That's what he's campaigning for. But one of the things that we found that was very disturbing was the fact that it was also the First Amendment that had been attacked that day. A BBC crew was the first on the scene at the site where the alleged shooter allegedly committed suicide, and the Virginia State Police threatened to confiscate their car, to confiscate their camera if they did not delete the footage. And the amazing thing was, the policeman identified as Officer Clark said that this could be evidence. And so they questioned, well, if it could be evidence, why would you make us delete that? Exactly. Yeah. Now, as the BBC was very upset about this, I didn't hear anything about it from any of the other journalists that were there, but they did contact the Virginia State Police, and they said they're aware of the incident, that it violates Virginia State Police policy. Of course, it violates the Constitution. And we have seen this over and over again. This is not an isolated incident. We've seen many cases where officers demand that people not take a picture of them, demand that they delete footage. And when I heard about this got me very concerned, because it's very much like what we've seen happening in Spain when Alex Jones was just there with Rob Dew, and they forced them to delete their footage. Fines of anywhere from 600 to 30,000 euros. Right. That's a lot of money if you just take pictures of the police, or you're critical of the royal family, or critical of the government. That's what we have to be concerned about as well.
And it's just so surprising that they would want to confiscate footage after the fact, saying that it could be evidence.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then so what do you think about also the media, the way that they're covering this as well, is that a lot of places aren't covering the racial aspect of this attack because he clearly said in his manifesto that he wanted a race war, and it was he bought his gun the day after the Charleston shootings there. Dylan Roof, he said, if this is what you want, then here, go for it. Although he had this ideology before then.
True, and I haven't been able to find any links to SSRI drugs or any kind of psychiatric treatment, which has typically been the hallmark of all these shooter cases. But what he did do, and I've said this before, he is definitely drinking the Obama Kool-Aid, the divide and conquer, hyper political correct racism that is out there, and it is turning very violent. We had another incident today that was on Infowars.com, a video of a couple of black people beating a white person. Again, this is the consequence of this divide and conquer. And just like the Jonestown suicide cult, what the Democrats are doing for political gain with this narrative that they use, starting with the Charleston shooting especially, this is where this is going to lead. It's going to lead in mindless, violent attacks on people just because of their race. It increases the racism. We've had the most divisive president in my lifetime with Obama, and it's amazing to me that with all the time they spent on the Confederacy and Jefferson Davis with the Charleston shooting, that nobody is talking about the real connection, the real motivation of Obama, how he motivated this kind of hatred, this kind of racism. And that's why the story I had is Obama's first domestic drone strike, because this guy was acting like a droid, a drone, a robot.
Well, and that's what we have, this obsession with political correctness. We have so many people now. I mean, colleges are becoming these institutions for this authoritarianism and changing the way we speak and the way we address people with the proper pronouns. And some of the things that he was upset about were not even racist. They were terms of the industry, where he was upset when he was told to go out in the field and shoot. That's what you do. You go out in the field as a reporter or a cameraman. But he was, he would say, what do you mean, cotton field? That's racist. And so that's sort of the thing, is like everything can be seen as racist when you are victimized.
When you're racist, you see everything, and that you tend to project on other people the way that you see things and the way that you interact with people. So if you see everybody else out there as not as individuals, but simply as a member of a group, a faceless group, then you assume that they're just looking at you as a member of a group and not as an individual. If we don't stop this, this is going to be fatal. When you look at the Black Lives Matter, of course, Soros and the leadership of the Black Lives Matter want to have this kind of divide and conquer strategy. And I've said before, if black people want to stop this from happening to them, and it is happening to them at a higher rate than it is happening to white people. If they want to stop the police brutality, they need to make common cause with everyone. Because if they separate themselves out, if they get hostile to the rest of the people, then the rest of the people, the larger community, is going to say, well, it was justified. It's not justified. But that's where this is leading, this divide and conquer strategy.
And that's it. No one is going to win when you have the divide and conquer. Well, thank you, David, and we'll be looking forward to more reports.
Thank you.
Dave, my mind is going. I can feel it.